Hey, it's me. Welcome to Trump Mafia. Now, I was thinking about a possible alliance between the Russian Federation and the United States of America. And I know many of you are very old, which is not a bad thing, but you also have a lot of memories in your head about the Soviet Union and whatnot. But if you look at it in a historical sense, Great Britain was allied with Russia in the past for a long time before the rise of communism, and the Soviet Union did disappear. The Russian Federation is a different animal. It's more of a nationalistic nation, and the United States will also be that if Trump is successful. And it's a new world. I mean, we're not talking about the Cold War, we're talking about a new world where you have globalists and you have various threats that are very different than the past. Now, let me tell you something, and maybe you can look at everything from a new perspective. Now, you have China, and they have a big influence because, they have a lot of manufacturing now, and they're ruled by a central committee that controls all the people, and they're very hostile to the surrounding environment. And then you have the European Union, and you have a central committee controlling all the people, and they're also hostile to the outside environment. Now, the EU is something unique because they were meant to be an economic union, but they quickly developed into a political union, erasing borders and trying to make a mega-state. And now they're also seeking to build their own European Union army. Now, what's up with that? And it's all controlled by Germany. Here comes trouble. And you have to admit that NATO has a big problem. I mean, one of the members is a radical Islamic nation. Does that make any sense to you? No, it doesn't. And it's also there because it was created as a kind of organization to fight a conventional war against Russia and also to protect member states. But again, it's a different world. And NATO has become obsolete in many ways, and like Donald Trump said, rightly so, its main objective should be to counter the threats of today. So besides China with their Central Committee and the European Union with their Central Committee, you also have the spread of Islam. Now, I'm not talking about a normal spread of a religion. I'm talking about a soft invasion. And it's orchestrated by Saudi Arabia and the Emirates mostly. They created ISIS, and they forced, together with Hillary and Obama, these flows of refugees or migrants into Europe, into the United States. Then they bought off all these politicians to kind of lend a helping hand. So that, yes, you have this soft invasion, which is aided by people that are in those various countries. Angela Merkel, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, these kind of people. And so what you have is Saudi Arabia financing the building of mosques in those countries, and they're popping up like mushrooms everywhere. And the reason is you have a communication network where it's supposed to be a religion, but it's also a way to spread information, or let's say orders. And many of the Muslims that are migrating to other countries, they see Sharia law as being over and above the law of any country they're in. So we're talking about massive populations that will of course expand in Europe and also in the United States, and thanks to Barack Obama, all over the United States, even in Wyoming and Idaho, South and North Dakota. I mean, you cannot even imagine the kind of cultural shock that gives. But in decades from now, you will have sizable Muslim populations in all 50 states. And of course, Europe is far ahead. I mean, all of the capitals in Europe, if you can still call them capitals, are brimming with a lot of Muslims in the major cities, and it's making people very nervous. And the reason is that it's an artificial type of expansion of a religion. Now, Islam couldn't do it using the military because they always failed and they were defeated countless times. So now they're doing it this way. But the objective is the same: spread Islam all over the world and dominate. So when you see that you have all these potential Trojan horses, then you have ISIS. And if it's not ISIS, it will be another terror group. It's a major threat. So I see a world that has as its main threats that soft invasion of Islam, the European Union with their military aspirations controlled by a central socialist committee, and China also controlled by a central committee. So therefore I see an alliance of the United States with the Russian Federation as being a counterbalance. So when I say that Putin and Trump will manage the world, I'm not talking about dominating the world or controlling the world. I'm talking about providing a counterbalance to these threats. And this alliance can also include Great Britain, who got out of the EU. But unfortunately, even though the people decided to separate from the European Union, some paid politicians want to reincorporate them or stay inside at least. But if Great Britain successfully removes itself from this socialist militaristic entity controlled by Germany, then they should be part of this axis of the Russian Federation, the United States, and thus Great Britain. And that, I believe, will make the world a safer place, a much safer place.